Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone, my name is Primatama Nabil. I am one of the students at Islamic State University of Sharif Hidayatullah, Jakarta, especially in English Education Department. I'm from class 4B, and I'm here to tell you a summary of this novel. Novel written by Clive Cussler with Paul Kemprecos, titled Fireworks. The reason that I picked this novel is because this novel contains something we might see as a war of US and Russia. You know that those two super countries are always on their own fight, especially with the fact that they've had Cold War back then. Okay, I'll start the story right away. So the story started back then in 1918 when Odessa Star, one of a French ship, that was hijacked by a group of people. They happen to be ruffians, if we call it. And in that ship, it contains a Tsar of Russia named Grand Duchess Maria. She is Tsar of Russia, so you can tell how important that is. Without Tsar of Russia, there is no Russia. It was hijacked, but Captain Petrov, the captain of the ship, managed to save them. So Odessa Star was sunken down, but the people were safe. When back to the present now, at the agency, the submarine of another one that belongs to American, it is another submarine, was hijacked by someone who is named Pulaski. He called himself as a marine biologist from University of North Carolina, but it turns out to be a lie. He works with the antagonist of this story, which is Russian, and the submarine was hijacked. It was taken somewhere and it disappeared because they cannot contact radio. Then at the main coast, Rocky Point, actually, a big tsunami hit that place. But luckily, before the tsunami hit the place, Leroy Jenkins, a fisherman, but he also used to be marine biologist, managed to alert them about what happened. So then they were safe except for one motel or one at that place, which is the motel owner who disbelieved about the threat. And then at the Black Sea, there is a TV crew from Unbelievable Mystery, the content of Kayla, Nikki, and Dundee. They were visiting an old submarine base at Russia along with a guide named Mehmet, but he was shot dead, and then they were stranded at the place. It turns out the Cossacks were attacking them. And luckily, at the time, Numa ship called Argo, led by Arkman and Austin Kirk, that's the protagonist of the story, keep it remembered. They managed to save Kayla and her friends from that disaster, and they managed to return her back to Istanbul. And because of that attack, Viktor Petrov, if you remember, he was the captain of the 1918 Odessa Star. He was informed that there is an American infiltrating the Russia, which is not really sure if I can call it so. Then when Petrov realized that it was Austin, he was remembered by the fact that they've met once. I'll call Petrov from now Ivan because that's how he introduced himself to Austin. Ivan and Austin, they had some meetings back then before the Cold War, and even if Austin managed to hurt Ivan, Austin actually still cared about him. So Ivan decided to meet up with Austin in Istanbul. He managed to catch up. Meet up, if you get it. And at Istanbul, Austin was kidnapped by Russians. Only to find out that he was taken to an old office building, and then he met Ivan there. Ivan asked Austin what was he doing, and then Austin told him about what he was doing because of saving the crew from the Cossacks. Then Ivan told him that something happened in Russia, and he wished that Austin and his team would interfere. However, Austin didn't see that. After Austin was returned back to the place where he was kidnapped before, he called his friends Zavalajo, Spanish, and a married couple named Paul and Gumay Throat. Yeah. They arrived at Istanbul, and by the time Austin managed to ask someone a cousin of Mehmet named Captain Kemal with the ship Turgut to lead them back to the old base. And because Captain Kemal thought this will be a revenge for Mehmet, so he allowed them to go along with them. And the team was divided into two. First, the Trolls. They are supposed to find out about the Ottoman industries at Novorossiysk, and then Austin and Joe infiltrating the old base near the Black Sea. Okay, first I'll move on to the Paul for the Trolls first. The Trolls have arrived at somewhere near Novorossiysk when they were greeted by Paul's friend named Professor Orlov, Victor Orlov, and then they met his son named Yuri Orlov, and they managed to ask Yuri for a ride to Novorossiysk, aka Ottoman industry. However, things went bad, and Ottoman guards found out that they were trespassing the whole thing, and they were chasing Trolls along with Yuri. And at the night, they found out Yuri Orlov's place and burned them down. However, Professor Orlov, although he was beaten up, along with the Trolls, they were safe, and Trolls returned home back to Istanbul. At the same time, Joe and Austin, they managed to infiltrate the old submarine, and they found out a big warehouse where the Cossacks happened to stay there. The Cossacks that attacked them earlier. Austin managed to kill the guard. Austin managed to kill the leader of the Cossacks, and then they. Austin managed to kill the Cossack leader, and they managed to find out that the warehouse contains those NR1 crew. So they were rescued, but at the same time, Ivan also came there with a helicopter, and then Ivan asked for their help to actually regroup, to join team together for this cause, and so they did. Back then at the Argo ship, the NR1 submarine team, the submarine crew were telling the story about what happened when the ship was hijacked. They were told they need to salvage a certain ship, and the ship is actually Odessa Star. And so they found the Odessa Star, things like that. And Austin managed to find a jewelry box in the Odessa Star, and he was about to bring it to Sin Hunter, one of Argo's other ship, the Numa's other ship, but only to find out that Sin Hunter people had been killed because of the death of the leader, the Cossack leader, and turned out to be revenge. But then also, at the same time, when they found out about the Odessa Star, Austin asked someone in the US named Perlmutter to find out what is Odessa Star. And so Perlmutter did. He found an Odessa Star from the archive of someone named Lord Dodson. He's from England. And then he decided to send that information to Austin. So after Austin got the information, Joe visited England to the Lord Dodson's place, and he learned the truth that the actual Tsar of Russia, the Grand Duchess Maria, she's still alive, and she is married with someone. And after that, somewhere in the Numa headquarters at Washington, Leroy Jenkins visited that place to tell the Numa people about what happened. And there he met Jaeger, the computer geek of Numa, and also Hank Reed. He's the geochemist of Numa. They were talking about the methane hydrate, the actual possible cause for this whole incident. And the methane hydrate is, by the way, dubbed as fire ice, because it is a gas that look like solid ice, but then when you melt it, it actually burns. And so on. Because of Leroy's founding, Leroy also told them that there is Ottoman explorer near his place at the main coast, and they infiltrated the ship because of Leroy's reporting. It was Austin and Paul who infiltrated. They found the database of that ship, and they also managed to find the captain and the pilot of NR1 submarine. So they decided to escort them out of the ship. After the escort, Jaeger Jaeger who were asked by Austin to hack into the database. He told Austin about what happened in that ship, and there's also a name, Operation Tofarik. Operation Tofarik is what is the antagonist's main plan is, and so on. The antagonist himself is named Razov, Mikhail Razov, along with his advisor Boris. He is the owner of the Ataman industry, and he was about to open an international marketing trade at Boston, and so on. Austin managed to enter the ship with the help of his friend Kayla, the journalist as press, and he infiltrated the whole ship. He also confronted Mikhail Razov. He basically he told him everything about that Razov is a monster, is evil, for things like that. So Razov kicked him out of the ship, and the whole men were chasing him. Oh, by the way, at the ship he also met Ivan, so they were escaping together. But luckily, they were saved by USS Constitution, the old Irish sites. They managed to beat the Razov's men too, and so on. After that, Austin told the president and the vice president about what happened, and then it turns out that the vice president is actually the spy for Razov. So Sandecker asked the vice president to actually quit his job for his own good, and then the president sent SEAL to help Austin and Numa to beat Razov. So there were 3 ships that were aiming to destroy the whole U.S. That is the Miami, and then Charleston and Boston. So so Austin and his team infiltrated Ataman Explorer that aimed for Boston, while the SEAL was infiltrating the other 2. However, it turned out the other 2 was empty. It was abandoned, but the bomb dropped. And then after that, at the same time, at the Ataman Explorer 1, gunshots can't be avoided because one of the people was armed. So Austin managed to confront Mikhail Razov along with his advisor Boris and the hijacker of the NR1 Pulaski. They had a fight, and Austin managed to kill both Pulaski and Boris, but Razov escaped. And because the bomb should be activated before it explodes, Austin managed to destroy the control. After that, 36 hours from that event, Razov had already arrived at England, and he managed to persuade Lord Dodson to give him the crown of Ivan the Terrible. Whoever can hold the weight under the crown is the leader. He can be the leader of the Russia, and so on. Austin with Joe managed to pursue him, but then Razov died because he was sunken to quicksand under the river along with the crown. He was actually about to be saved by Austin, but Razov declined the offer because he had to let go of the crown and he didn't want to. So on, Razov died along with the crown, along with the sword. In the end, the lost treasure from Odessa Star were returned back to Russia, and so Ivan told Austin that he's the hero for Russia. Ivan called Austin normal Mr. Austin, but now he call him Kurt because that's the non-formal way of calling Austin, and they wish that they can meet again one day. At the same time, Kayla managed to get a piece about the Razov story, and she became the hottest journalist in the whole U.S. She lived together with Austin to repay for whatever he had done, along with the both hounds that Razov had earlier, Sasha and Grooky. They were saved by Austin, and so on. They live all together. Okay, that's all for the story of this novel. The thriller novel is actually quite good. I recommend to read it if you happen to be a fan of thriller. And the more story I can learn from this book is that sometimes you have to forgive your own enemy for the sake of beating the worst enemy that you have. That's all from me. Thank you so much. Wabillahi taufiq wa hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.